Hi, ladies. Welcome to today's podcast and YouTube interview number 2 on mindset. I am so grateful and so excited to have you both on this call because I know how powerful you both are in this topic. And for myself personally, I'm just so extremely grateful to have you as very close friends and pillars in my life, especially when it comes to mindset and helping me be able to stay grounded and always operating from a higher energy state, because we practice and we talk about this so often. So I'm excited to share this with our viewers and our listeners, just so that they can also see how mindset is, as we've discussed and as you ladies know, a number one priority, not only in life in general, but in real estate. I personally have found that it's one of those topics that unfortunately isn't discussed enough. But for anybody that has any level of success in real estate, everybody talks about how mindset is really, it should be your number one focus. And, as we've had conversations, Margarita, before, that it's, for me, it's kind of like that 80-20 rule, right? That they tell you about going to the gym. 80% is eating healthy and 20 is about working out. And I believe that that's the same for when it comes to real estate investing. And this should be people's number one priority. And that is why I set it up as one of the first podcast interviews for this channel, because I think we need to start off with that as the priority in everything that we do. And so, like I said, I'm excited to have you both with me in this interview and be able to share your perspective with our audience. So if you don't mind, if you could each just take a moment to introduce yourself and maybe just share, what you do in the world of mindset and how you help people, and also your connection in real estate. I know we all work together, but just so our audience can hear how you are involved in real estate investment. So maybe Margarita, if you want to start, and then we'll get Carole to introduce herself.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. So mindset and where this all started. Wow, it's honestly been my journey of learning and growing through several years. I've worked with a personal development company for, I was working with a fellow named Jay Facette, probably for about, I want to say almost 20 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it brought me to a place of really finding myself and being able to coach others and to work with others and to make a difference and an impact on people's lives, right? And so when I started going through this journey, it was really about who am I at this pivotal point of my life. And then it was all about me, but then it became even more so about how am I going to be in support of others, and really learning that I really co-create my world. And when I started to understand how I co-create my world, it came into like that whole mindset of manifestation. And then I started playing in that whole world of, oh, how can I manifest, like, let's say a parking stall? I went from getting a parking stall to creating my world into where I'm at today. So just little pieces of my life of mindset and creating that has led me to Cartier Real Estate. When I met you, oh my gosh, like it's going to be
I think a year ago now.
Yeah, it's March. Oh my goodness. Yeah. So it's a year, right? So,
Yep.
We walked into each other's lives from across the room, and it was like, who are you? And I just want to know who you are. I don't even think I knew what you were doing. Like, it was just like, who are you? Right? Like, tell me about who you are. And then we we didn't really even get to connect. And then it took us a bit to connect. And then once we connected, it was just like, oh, okay, I like you. And I really want you to be a part of in my world. And that's when we started doing the magic together.
That's right. Yep.
And
Yeah.
magic led into Cardia Real Estate, because when I remember us sitting in that little tiny boardroom going, what are we going to name it? And we're all just like, name it. And it just flourished, right?
Yeah.
Like it was just like I was having meditations and I saw blue and gold. And then like, oh, wow, Cardia, right?
Yeah, of course.
Right. It was, you know,
It was beautiful.
crazy
Yeah,
beautiful. And
it
so,
was.
yeah, and I believe that absolutely 100% mindset and really being able to control ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
because we can't do anything else but
Yeah.
to control like what's going on in here. So,
Yeah. Well, thank you
yeah.
so much for that introduction, Margarita. That's awesome. I'm like, again, and I tell you this on a daily basis, but I'm so grateful that to have you in my life, and just our journey together so far, and also for our team within our company. So thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Carol.
Thank you so much, Carolyn, for having me on the show today. I'm so excited to be here with you and Margarita. Where it all began for me, I would say on a hill in Peru is probably where it all began, where I realized that I couldn't keep living the life I was living. And prior to that, I had just been so preoccupied with making sure everyone around me was being taken care of and was happy, and was just studied all levels of psychology to make sure that everyone was not only being taken care of physically, but emotionally, psychologically, all of it. And the person I was forgetting was myself in the process. And so being able to be out there completely unplugging from my life for those 2 weeks and journeying with 23 other women on this incredible retreat that I was on started for me what then became an opportunity to become a coach myself and be able to train under an amazing teacher that gave me a view into the world that I had always known to be true, but had been buried so deep inside of me, deep under layers of trying to please everyone else around me. So the last few years have been incredible. You and I met 3 years ago, Carolin, and there began our journey. And we always laugh about the mirroring of our lives and how not only are our names similar, but so many aspects of our lives, our children that we're raising. And I was able to be blessed with understanding at that point 3 years ago that I would have to make a very brave decision of stepping out of a 24-year marriage and opening myself up to the next chapter in my life, which you became a part of. And of course, my man, Kristen, became a huge part of. And we've been building and leading businesses together and raising children together. And you've been such an integral part of that process. And so with Cardia Real Estate in partnership with you, it's just so beautiful to have now been brought into Margarita's world, and that we're able to, the two of us, co-create something incredible, being able to take all the beauty of the wisdom you've acquired throughout the years from your own experiences and journey, and taking what I have and coupling that together and bringing it to all areas that are required. I think, Carolyn, you're such a huge advocate of mindset, and how without that it's just an empty shell of knowledge. And to be able to thrive and really excel in all areas of our life, if we're taking care of that first, it makes all the difference. So I'm very excited and feel very blessed and honored to be here today and to see what we're going to co-create on this call together.
Thank you so much. Oh my gosh. I love both of you so much. I'm grateful to have you here. And I think it's, such a great blessing, like I said earlier, for our team and for us together to be able to support each other. And I think the other beautiful thing about this, because I know that, one of the passions for me in sharing this and making this public is especially to share it with other women, because I know how powerful this is for us three. And particularly the three of us have children, and we're able to support each other through that journey as well as we do through real estate. And like I said, and without this mindset component, it wouldn't be flowing or happening the way it is. So it's just such a beautiful combination. And I hope that with what we get to share today and in future episodes, we can just keep inspiring people and make them see that anything's possible, right? So thank you. I think for me, one of the key points in, like I said earlier, in having both of you here is to be able to share how mindset plays a huge role, especially on the real estate side, because as both of you have been in this journey with Cardia Real Estate, you've been able to see the different parts of it where if you're not, like I said before, if you're not strong in this mindset part of things, then it is very easy to want to give up. It's very easy to get discouraged, because things can change so quickly when you're going through a property or going through a deal, or things can change in our environment, and all of a sudden we're going to have to pivot because things out of our control are impacting that deal that we're working on. And so I think it's extremely important for people to hear that, because when I speak publicly, I share that, but I'm afraid that most people don't hear that, because what they really love about real estate is obviously the potential for profit and money and financial success that can come from it. And nobody's denying that. But as I said before, none of that is possible in a larger scale or long term if you don't focus on the mindset stuff. So I would really love if you ladies can just share from your experience and what we've been doing in real estate. What are the areas in particular that you think are crucial for people to focus on when it comes to mindset? So I don't know who wants to go first, but feel free to jump in.
What comes to mind for me is just something that may be difficult for people to grasp on the onset, is just that money in and of itself is energy. It's just a form of energy. And what we put out there as far as the way we interact and relate to money, it's a relationship that's being built from the moment we're born and brought into this world, and then influenced by our parents, by the people around us, by our peers, and their own relationship to money. So being aware that when we've been brought up in maybe a scarcity mindset, and to give a bit of background on that, is like the fear of not being able to make enough money, or to have enough money, or that there's not enough to go around. Mm-hmm. It just, that would be one type of setting that we might have grown up in. Sometimes we haven't. We've been in a home setting where our parents were very financially fit, and money was never talked about, or money was not discussed. You talked earlier about women in particular and being empowered in this world of finances. Is for a lot of women, they were brought up to see that was a man's world. Mm-hmm. And the mother, the wife, didn't really have a say necessarily. I know that was my own experience. And so
that was my reality too.
Yeah, so just to be able to watch my mother and see that she was extremely bright and had so much to contribute, but there was just not a place for her to have a voice. And it wasn't even my father's wrongdoing. It was just societally and culturally, that just wasn't a thing. Like, don't worry about it, honey, I've got it taken care of. And there's just no involvement for the woman. And it's just this skewed perspective that they're doing you a favor, but they're not, right? So, so just recognizing where we come from, having compassion for that, and then having a reality check that, okay, it's normal that I would be this way now. Now, how do I recreate a different reality for myself now? Because as a woman, I want to be responsible for myself financially. I want to be knowledgeable. I want to be educated. And then it's a rebuilding of that relationship. If you even imagine money as an entity that is neutral. It doesn't like, it's not bad or good. It just is. And then how am I going to relate to that moving forward? So
yeah, that's extremely powerful, and it's such a great point, because it's something that, you know, we've even experienced within our team, right? Is coming up to those challenges, right? And that what scarcity does, like that scarcity mindset or that fear, and then it puts you really paralyzed to be able to move forward in just,
in so many ways.
yeah, so many ways. Just looking at a deal and saying, okay, it doesn't matter what the outcome is, I'm going to do the best that I can to make this work and make this a win-win for everybody in this process. But sometimes when you haven't done the work, it's so easy to get caught up in that, right?
Well, and you and I even have journeyed on other business ventures where we've
Yes.
seen both extremes, where it's like you've gone to the bottom and you've realized, okay, what got me here, and why are we struggling? Why is this difficult? Why does this feel effortful? And then completely shifting our mindset and being in gratitude and just being
Oh yeah.
open to limitless possibilities showing up. And I remember us traveling as a group and just seeing, like, from moment to moment, what seemed like miracles. It'd be like, no, this can't be, like, there's
Yeah.
just so much abundance available to us. And what it just seems so simplistic, but it really is that simple.
Yeah.
If we are open to the possibility, it will show up. But if we already have our mindset that it's going to look a certain way, then that is how it's going to look, because we have blinders on. And so the abundance can be flowing, but it's pushing off our blinders and being distributed to others, because all we have is this, like, funnel vision that only allows this to come in. But what if we were open to saying, I'm open to anything. Miracles can show up. I could have money drop in my lap. I can have anything manifest. And I know Margarita's just an expert in that world, so I'm going to let her take over the whole manifesting topic, because
Yeah.
it really truly is powerful. And having experienced it and lived it tangibly, like from one extreme to the other, you just can't deny it at that point. You can't be a non-believer, because it's just right there
Oh,
in front of your face. And why wouldn't you live in that space then?
yeah. It's so beautiful, especially when, like you said, when you get into that state. And the gratitude part, I think, is the biggest part, at least for me, where I notice that shift is when you can just stay focused on that, then everything opens up. And again, like Carole said, Margarita, I know you can share some very real and authentic stories on what you've experienced with that, and just how powerful it is.
Yeah, for sure. So I think, for me, and that whole mindset, and like people that are first starting their journey on mindset and understanding, okay, what do they mean by mindset, right? I think that's a big picture too, as well. Like for people that have never even walked in this realm of, whether it be writing affirmations or, manifestation, like those words are like quite large for somebody that's just like, what are you talking about, mindset? Like I'm a positive person, right? And I
Yeah.
hear it all the time when people are like, oh, I'm positive, and and then later on I'm just like, holy crap, you're not. Like, I don't even want to work with you.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting because, like, so for an example of manifestations, and I've played in this realm for a long time, and I didn't even know my own power until I started really looking at it even more so I'm going to share the story yesterday. So going to go show a property, just like ready to go do everything, and then all of a sudden my phone's blowing up and people are scared, right? People live in whatever that triggers for them, and they didn't want to go see a property because of what's going on in Calgary right now. And so I was like, okay, cool. I'm going to just allow that to be. I'm going to ground myself. And how I ground myself is I just kind of like breathe in, breathe out, and just allow something to like go through me. And then I said, okay, this is what I want. I basically asked God, universe, Allah, Buddha, whoever, this is what I want. I want to find somebody that is going to be a perfect fit for this property. And not even like a couple minutes later, I get a phone call from the mortgage broker, and she said, yep, he's good to go. And I'm like, wow. Like, honestly, that happens on a daily with me, where it's like, you got to take that time to acknowledge those triggers that are going to trigger you. And the triggers are like, it could be anything. It could be the weather. It could be your relationships. It could be wherever this stuff manifests from. And acknowledge it, and then just let it go.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know that Carol doesn't like the whole let it go.
No, I'm good with it. I love it. We had a whole funny conversation about that, because I've had experience. Sorry, go ahead.
But it's about allowing it to like go through you and allowing it to go. Really, at the end of the day, it's really about.
Yeah, no, and I love that word, allowing.
Allowing.
I think it's just, I love that you bring it down to people that are not familiar with this world as well, because I think that's where the need really lies. It's not those that already know about this that need to be brought into the circle of joy. It's those that have never heard of it, or don't believe in it, or have a misconception of it. Like, I had someone comment like, oh, I wish I could be light and fluffy like that. But it's not about being light and fluffy. This is about being real. This is about being very aware of what's going on, and then learning ways to shift. It really boils down to, you give the example that you did from yesterday, is that you allowed yourself to believe it was possible, and that's all it takes. And because of things that happened to us from such a young age that hurt us, ultimately, like that hurt us, we stopped believing in the impossible. As a child, we had this incredible knowing that anything like that magic is all around us. And then what happens at one point that makes us think that was never true all along? It's because we get hurt, and then we build up these protective mechanisms that, for example, for many years, I lived from the standpoint of expect the worst so you won't be disappointed. So if you're expecting the worst, that's what's going to show up. Like, you really are, again, putting those blinders that are saying that I'm limiting what I'm allowing into my life to the worst. And it really is a protective mechanism, because maybe at one point I expected or wished something for the people in my life, and they disappointed me or they hurt me. And all of us have those stories. And it's about realizing that we can expect the best out of our life journey, not out of the people around us, because we're all going to disappoint each other. We're human beings after all. But to expect that we still, despite the pain and despite the struggle and despite the obstacles that come our way, we overcome. And why do we overcome? Is because we're being supported on some level or another. I know that with our projects, we in Mexico, Carolin, we've seen some unbelievable magic show up time and time again. And it's because as a team, we've made that commitment, and we've agreed to be open to everything, and to invite all of it to show up. And when you do that, and you do that as a collective, it is powerful beyond measure. And so we have the right people that show up, and we also have the right people that leave our space when the time is right. And it's fluid and it's effortless, because we're being supported. We're not fighting to keep someone or fighting to get someone that we shouldn't have in our circle. So I love that topic.
When you're saying like the right people will flow in, and the right people will go, and that's okay. And that happens in deals too, right? Like,
absolutely.
I was working with a real estate agent, and I could feel the intuition was like, ooh, you're different. We're different because everybody's different. And I could feel there was something not right there. And I remember talking to Carolin about it. I was just like, I don't know, right? Like, there was something there, right? And I think that's a huge piece of real estate is trust your intuition. That's a huge piece of mindset too, right? Like, that gut feeling, that it's right. It's right.
And both ways too, like gut feelings when things aren't right, and then gut feelings when things are right. Like I just love and repeat this story so many times of Carolin walking down that road in Cabo and backing up a few stores to go into a store because your gut was guiding you to go there. And that was the domino effect of meeting the person that would introduce us to the next person and the next and the next and the next. Had you not listened to that intuition, Cabo wouldn't even be a thing. There wouldn't even be real estate projects I would be working on right there, right now. So I love that you bring that up, Margarita. There's not enough can be said on that very topic. And remembering that as a child, we totally had access to that. And we trusted it like nothing else. And again, we lost that ability. So it's so important to go back to that childlike innocence and trust that again, because when earlier I talked about being supported and guided through all of it, that's where the wisdom comes from, is from inside of us, not outside of us. Even with our kids, they become adults, but way before they became adults, I always told them, I don't care who it is, which person of authority, if they tell you something and it doesn't feel right here, you listen to that is inside of you. It will guide you and never lead you astray. So that applies now in all areas of our work and in real estate. Definitely very powerful tool.
I love that both of you touched on that, because I feel for myself that is an area where especially with being surrounded by you two ladies, I have tapped into that even more, and I'm tuning into it more, because I had that situation like you're describing, Carole, where I lost it. At some point in my life, I lost it. And so I went through a variety of real estate partnerships and businesses that completely failed because I didn't listen to that gut feeling. I was just responding in the moment and thinking, no, it's okay, and not, it just didn't come up strong enough for me. And I also would have to recognize that I didn't have enough of that awareness on that mindset and personal level to say, hey, hang on a second, there's something that doesn't feel right. And so today I get more and more excited when I can recognize that, and I start to see, like what you were saying, Carole, I can make decisions based on what feels good, what's flowing, and when it's not. And like, just like you, Margarita, I just had a situation on a file today that we were about to close. And I just, in my gut, I was like, this does not feel right. Like there's something off with this. These people are trying to push this way too hard. And, they're trying to get me to not follow the systems and processes we have in place to protect ourselves as well as a company. And then they ended up giving me an ultimatum and saying, well, if we don't have this by 12, then we're walking. And I just said, well, I'm sorry to hear that, but in a more professional level, kick rocks. Like, I'm not gonna shift, or, whereas I think before I probably wouldn't have listened to that intuition or that gut feeling and said, oh no, this is a deal. I got to go and like try to close this deal no matter what. And then that's when you're
and that's the persuasive and perseverance side of you too. That is a great quality, but you don't give up, like you don't quit. But now you can couple that with the intuition, and even if it doesn't make sense on an intellectual level, like backing up 2 stores to go in, your brain in no way, your mind was like, that makes sense. No, but you trusted it anyways. And a lot of times our mind will object, will resist, will say, what are you doing? Like even me going to Peru, I had no idea what effect that would have on a long play. It made no sense to my mind, money wise, time wise, all of it. I had young children at home. I could have talked myself out of it 10 times over. And a lot of times with really strong intuitive pushes, our mind will resist. And are we willing to fight that fight, or are we going to just go through the painful experiences like you talked about, like the multiple partnerships, and we are loved to that degree that the discomfort shows up to just bring us awareness and be like, this isn't working, and it gets more and more and more uncomfortable until we make the changes necessary. And now with your awareness and you tapping into your intuition, that time is so short now. It's like literally like right today you're like, yeah, okay, cool. In the past, you might have thought that, but now you're just like, and there's this, that's not you're not giving up on these people. You're just accepting that there's other paths and better paths.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm so grateful to, like I said, to get more and more clear and in tune with that. And again, I'm grateful to have both of you in helping me, but also helping so many people on our team and leading our team through that journey as well in our own individual process of growth in mindset. So thank you so much for sharing your passion and your wisdom. And I'm very excited to have you both on a regular basis on this channel to be able to open up this conversation, because I know there's so many more parts of it that we can talk about and share, because it's a huge, like I said, it's the most important part for me in real estate investing. But I also know you two ladies are working on a project and being able to share with the public more information about what you do and strategies and what people can do to work on their mindsets. So we will make sure that we share that on our links so that people can reach out to you and connect with you as well directly. So thank you so much for joining me today and sharing your passion and wisdom. And I'm excited for the rest of the world to be able to hear what you were able to share today. So thank you.
Thank you, Carolyn. Thank you, Margarita.
Thank you.